So we'll be eating some tacos.
Yeah. All right. Love you.
I love you too.
Yeah, I'll talk to you later.
All right, sweet. What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to Scatteredcast, a channel dedicated to what me and my brother are into in the moment, what hobbies we're into, what games we're playing, what music we're listening to. I'm usually joined by my brother Ray. Hello, I am Travis. I'm actually going solo today because I'm going to be talking about the 10-year anniversary of the 3DS. This is the 2DS XL, but my 3DS is actually buried in the basement. We're doing some home remodeling in the basement right now, and a lot of the stuff had to get pushed into this back room. So it's very sad that I'm doing this video without my actual 3DS. I got my 3DS May 2012. I was a huge fan of the regular DS, and getting the 3DS was like, it was a very good, great gaming moment for me. The DS family is definitely one of my favorite systems of all time. I don't know if you count, it's a weird, maybe judgment call on if you count the 3DS as its own system or is it in the DS family. I don't know. Maybe we can talk about that later. This is actually, I think, our first episode of straightforward gaming stuff. We've been doing a lot of Magic the Gathering or topic based things of what we're into. But this is the first deep dive into my 10 favorite video games of the 3DS generation. Can't believe it's been 10 years. It had like a weird like fizzling out sort of too when the Switch came in. It sort of just kind of faded into the background, so it didn't have like a real glorious end, so to speak. But these are, I just want to run down my top 10 favorite games from the system to celebrate its 10 years, 10-year anniversary of the 3DS. One of my favorite handhelds, easily probably my favorite handheld, but almost one of my favorite systems too. All right, so let's get going. With number 10, we've got Bravely Default. It's a great RPG. It came out February 7th of 2014. And this was like the first RPG that really hit, like a handheld RPG that really hit big with like gaming fans in general. Like not only with RPG fans, but it seemed like it was very big in the gaming community. And it was actually hard for me to find when it was released because I didn't pre-order it, but I got the demo and I was really sick. I got really sick between the end of 2013 and the start of 2014. And I remember like making dinner and I'm like, for my wife, she's getting home from work. And I'm still grinding, I think I played the demo for like 8 hours. I'm still grinding, learning the system and just had a great time. And then I got real sick. So then I put even more time into the demo. And then when I felt better, because it was about a month flu I had, it was like just a crazy flu. And then in February when it came out, it was really hard to find, which was cool because it was like the first time that I had remembered an RPG like really blew up outside of just the RPG fans. And it was a great game. It had a really cool mix between old school and new school. So it was like very old school Final Fantasy, grindy, but it had a lot of like modern quality of life changes of like turning down battle encounters, turning up battle encounters. So it's like if you want to grind, I would max those things up and just walk around the town and just build up. Or if I was really low and got beat up, if you look at the footage, apparently the last time I played it was at a boss, and turn the battles off, get to a town, kind of regroup, look at your job system. But it also had a really cool street pass function where you would pass people and get followers to this town where their main character was from that was destroyed in this big event at the beginning of the game. And there was a side game of gathering followers, telling them where to repair and do stuff in this village. And then you can open up different shops and different weapons and stuff. And I really like that. The problem is I haven't played this game in a long time. I actually never finished it. I got to the point, it gets repetitive at one point where you actually do some things over again. So I put 50 hours into it over a couple like sit down like playthroughs of like I would play for like 15, 20 hours and kind of put it down for a few months and then pick it back up. So did that like 3-4 times, racked up about 50 hours into it. But I hit that point where I didn't pick it back up again. And I wish I would. I know that the second one's out, but I want to check to see if I got followers still because I transferred all of my data from my old 3DS to this new 2DS XL, and then a couple days later, there's a burnt pixel out on it. So I got another one, and when I transferred all that data, I lost everything. So I had to download everything from my account. So I don't know if my street passes were obliterated or if that came through. I don't know. So I'll have to check my village at some point. But that is my number 10 is Bravely Default. Fantastic game. I've actually been thinking about picking up an RPG again, and I don't know if I want to go straight into 2. I might actually, play through that and finish it. My number 9 is Super Mario 3D Land. This is getting a lot of love lately because of Super Mario 3D World coming out on Switch with Bowser's Fury, I believe. I haven't picked that up. I need to. I think that I would say that this game really saved the 3DS at its launch. Had a really rocky launch. I think a lot of people forget that. And the price dropped, I believe, after a month or two. So there was actually an ambassador program for people who bought it at launch. So they actually got some Game Boy Advance games that never ran on the system natively. I think they actually kind of like hacked into the system, Nintendo did, and allowed these games to run. So there was an ambassador program, but this was the first game of people. I was listening to a lot of podcasts like All Gen Gamers and TinyCast, and this was like the first game that people were really, really excited about. I believe it kept the heat in, it was like this rocky launch, but this had a really great Mario game on this handheld. I feel bad. I actually played this. I feel bad. I actually played this a little bit later in its life. I believe I played it in 2013, a couple of years later. And I played it at a time where I don't know if anybody else, you can write in the comment if this happens to you, where you almost play too many games, if that's possible. And I should have taken a break and then started this, but I just was just like too into gaming. I had like a couple months like stretch where I was just like, beating anything I could get my hands on, like completing it, that sounded really weird. So finishing games, any game I could get my hands on. And I need to get back to this one because I've been seeing a lot of love on social media from people who played it when it came out and saying that this is still their favorite of the 3D Land, 3D World, that generation of, the Wii U, 3DS, 3DS games. And I believe this is the first original 3D Mario game on a handheld. I may be wrong. If I am wrong, please let me know in the comments. All right. My number 8 is a little bit of a cheeky cheat, I suppose. It is Kirby Triple Deluxe, which came out May 2nd, 2014, and Kirby Planet Robobot, which came out June 10th, 2016. So 2 years apart, very similar games. I kind of picked them for number 8 both because they're kind of hard to separate. And I believe if you get either of them, if you can't find one or something like that, the other one is very feasible. You get the same kind of feel. Triple Star, it was right. I got this game right before I started a new job. I had worked from 15 to 33 in food industry in the restaurant field. And I had finally gotten a desk day 9 to 5 job. And this was a really great game to have in that transition. There was a huge, lift. It was a different lifestyle change for me, and kind of having a very comfortable Kirby game to play. This kind of actually got me really back into Kirby. The handhelds through the handheld games. I kind of forgot that my sister had Kirby growing up, and I remember taking her Game Boy copy, borrowing it, didn't take it from her, borrowed it, and I completed it and really enjoyed it. So it was kind of like through this game and some of the Wii games, I really started to appreciate sort of the joy of playing a very simple, not in an easy way, but very attainable, structured, it just felt very comforting. These games are very comforting. That's what I'm trying to say. They're very comforting, very low stakes, just really enjoyable. And then I really liked Robobot. And I think this is why I have them together. Maybe this is the better game, but I love the gimmick of Kirby in this mech. And I believe on the footage, I think I just played like the first level. I didn't get the mech. The mech is awesome. It's an extension of Kirby's powers. Use it to solve puzzles and everything. It just was a great game. And having it 2 years later, so I'm already comfortable in my job, it's kind of rekindling that, like, oh, I remember playing, Triple Star or Triple Deluxe, you know. And now I'm playing this new one that has this mech, and then the one for Switch is actually pretty good too. It's more of a co-op if you have like kids. I played through as a really good final boss. One of my actual favorite final boss battles in any Kirby game is from the Switch version. Just as like a little aside. So let's move right along. And we got number 7 is Luigi's Mansion Dark Moon. This came out March 24th, 2013. And I had kind of slept on this one a little bit too, where I picked it up. I believe I may have picked it up close to its launch, maybe that holiday season after it launched, maybe the 2013 Christmas. Played it over Halloween, I think 2015. So I had it for a little bit before I played it. And I played through the first mansion, and that is like the key. I played through the first mansion, and I realized like, oh, there's multiple mansions. It's not like the GameCube version. And then I kind of put it down for some reason. I think what I did is I got like a bunch of spooky Halloween games, and I believe that Castlevania DS Aria of Sorrow. I might be confusing that with the Game Boy title. Regardless, a DS version of Castlevania, I think, took my attention more than this did, and I ended up finishing that. Put this on the shelf for a little bit, but then came back to it in the spring, and that's when it really clicked. So I don't know if this has happened to anybody. You can comment below if this has, where you kind of get into a game, it doesn't click for you, but then you get back into it like a month or two later, or maybe even a year later, and that's when it's sort of like, oh, I get this now. And once I got back into this game, I fell super in love with it. Loved that there was multiple mansions. There's a lot of collectibles in this game. It has the same flavor and feel as the game Cube version did. I was a real big fan of the GameCube version and slept on that one too. I did not get that at launch. And I really just enjoyed it. And it was cool that I went back to it, because some games you don't go back to, but it was cool that I went back and really, really, really liked this game. And if you like, it's a cool mix. They're very unique because it feels very Zelda, but it also feels very Mario. There's a lot of, puzzles to figure out. You're upgrading your, the poltergust. You're actually getting new flashlights, attachments, and stuff like that. And I believe this one is the one where you use the buttons to angle up and down. Because that was what I was a little bit worried about, not having the second analog stick, was how is this going to control. It controlled very well. Really enjoyed this game. A big fan of Luigi's Mansion series. I need to get the third one for the Switch. It's weird. I love these games, and yet I always wait like years to play them. I should get back on there. And a quick little slip in to the top 10, a little hidden gem is Luigi's Mansion, the GameCube remake for 3DS. I played this last year at the beginning of lockdown. I just wanted to play. I played through Kirby's Extra Epic Yarn, I believe it's called, for the 3DS. That was a Wii port over to 3DS, and then I played this one right after. Fantastic game. Definitely recommend it. Either Dark of the Moon or regular Luigi's Mansion. And this one uses gyro to control the poltergust. All right, so start firing these off, man. My number 6 is a very interesting game. So this came out June 2nd, 2015. This is called Lord of Magna Made in Heaven. This is from Marvelous. I believe this is my second so far game that isn't like a Nintendo like property, which is very interesting. To put this down for a second and talk about the 3DS. The regular DS, I feel, had a ton of third-party support. The 3DS had more first-party, which it may have needed. It definitely had a lot of third-party, but a lot of the great games were, from Nintendo, which is very different in a lot of my. I mean, this is the only one I have on this channel, but my top 10 list. This is very Nintendo proper heavy. So having a JRPG. This is actually a strategy RPG. There's no footage of this one of me playing it, because when you complete the game, you can take one of the maidens, the sisters, and and carry them over into the next game. So I was so that would have been the starting point, is picking one of these girls, and then it would have been this whole story. So I didn't capture any footage for this, but this is a strategy RPG, a freeform battle. There's no grid. You kind of get an area queue or an area, array that you can run inside. I believe you're on the battlefield. No, it's the four sisters. I think you control them. I forget if you're on there with them. But it has a really cool mechanic of side quests where there's hearts above their heads, and I believe there's 3. And then when one of them starts to shine or it does something, and that's when you can take on their side quest. And by the time you play through the first game, you should have one in each, and maybe 2, and then one of the sisters, you'll have all of her. So I think I took the one sister that I had all of her side quests completed. But this game came, I forget how I discovered this, probably through either TinyCast or something. But I'm a big fan of strategy RPGs, and I was having a lot of issues with anxiety and stuff at the time, like kind of bubbling up to the surface, dealing with some of my stuff. And this was a great escape that summer. It was like I needed something to just like shut my mind off, stop worrying about things, and just kind of grind. I believe this was probably the actual last big RPG I finished on the 3DS. It's a great game, great strategy game. It'd be cool if they, ported this over to the Switch or remade it. This is the special edition. It's a really good soundtrack. But yeah, it was a great game to have at the time when I needed it. I needed this to escape. Great battle system, just a really good, fantastic strategy RPG. And it seems like with me, every 5 or 10 years, I find a really good strategy RPG that kind of gets me back into that genre. Number 5, December 4th, 2011. I think this is another one of those games that really helped the 3DS stay alive. And maybe, who knows, maybe this was actually the game that kept it going, and that rocky start this is Mario Kart 7. Fantastic game. This was my first 3DS game. My wife and my family pitched in to get me the 3DS, and loved the Mario Kart series. Had a great time with this game. I loved that the online was free. I got this a year later, and I would play it on and off throughout the lifespan of the 3DS, and I never had a problem finding online opponents. This was really good. There's a lot of collectibles in this game for your cart. You could probably see in my playthrough of selecting random stuff that I got. I just really enjoyed this game. I haven't played the Wii U and Switch Deluxe 8 or Mario Kart 8 at all. I think this might be my favorite Mario Kart that isn't Super Nintendo or 64, if that makes sense. This is fun, and it was fun for somebody like me who I was worried that I would just complete the solo stuff and then be done with it. But having that online component, because my friends don't have 3DSs. There was no 4-player split screen with this, but I really enjoyed this game, and I think that's a testament to how good this game is, that I had just as much fun with this solo and online that I did with my friends, playing 64, GameCube, or even the Wii one growing up. But yeah, Mario Kart 7, fantastic racer. And it still has a lot of the frustrations that, the Mario Kart games have with the rubber band physics a little bit, but fantastic game. And then actually, I think it calmed down a little bit, the blue shell from the Wii one. This was definitely a more balanced experience than the Wii one. All right. So number 4 is New Super Mario Brothers 2. This came out August 19th, 2012. So this was the first game that I got when I had a 3DS that I was in with the community, and it could be excited with everybody. So everyone that had a 3DS was talking about this game. I felt very like I was in with the cool kids on the podcast, and this is a really fantastic. This is probably, I haven't played the Wii or the Wii U one or the Switch one, but of the new ones leading up to this point, so there's the DS, there's the Wii one, and then there's the Super Mario Brothers 2 for 3DS. This is my favorite of that trilogy. The Wii one was fun because it added the helicopter, like flick the remote and you'd fly, which is really cool. It added multiplayer, but this one with the coin gimmick was super fun. Collecting coins, it made coins really worth something again. I mean, back in the original Mario games, it's like coins where you're to get 100 coins, you got a free life. Most levels had 100 or just over, so you could get a free life if you collected the coins. This one was just tons of coins. I think you look at my file, I think I have like 400 lives or something like that, something crazy. So you never had to worry about game overs or dying too much because you were constantly collecting coins. But it was a really cool mechanic, and it played really well in with Street Pass because you would get like coin collection levels that other people had played, and you would fight their ghost. If you can collect the more coins, the faster. So this is another one. This, and then later with Bravely Default, that really got me into Street Passing, and it was sucks because I live in it was very hard to get street passes, especially at the time, my age. So I'd actually go to comic shows because I would table at comic conventions, turn on my 3DS and leave it in the bag next to me. And I would get so many street passes. It was awesome. I would actually have to, when I would take a break or something like that, take my 3DS, do all of the stuff, collect all the things so I could refresh it and get some more street passes. But yeah, this was a great game, solid 2D Mario. Actually, on March 10th for Mario Day, I was like, I want to play a little bit of Mario, and been putting, other than hitting my mic with the game cases, been putting this together for a few weeks now. So I actually, while we were watching TV, kind of played a couple levels. I think between this and 3D Land, I might go back to Land because that's the one, because I devoured this game when it came out. And 3D Land's the one that I would like to get some fresh eyes back on, and then play it again. But I don't know. This might have to go into. Actually, this one's in my 3DS right now. So fantastic game. All right, so let's move to number 3, which is Metroid: Samus Returns. This is September 15th, 2017. So this game was definitely overshadowed by the Switch. I'm sure there was probably a lot of people wondering why this came out for 3DS and not the Switch. I really enjoyed this game. I didn't grow up playing a lot of the Metroid games, even though I'm of that age. I should have. I had a friend who was absolutely loved Super Metroid, and I've been meaning to revisit it or actually play it. So this was a great opportunity to get into that series. I think that's what the 3DS was really strong with me with, is it was good about getting me into series that I may have had no experience with growing up or just never really paid attention to. And it was, I love the system so much that it was easy to be like, I'm going to experience this game. I want to go get this game because it's on the system that I love so much. So this was a day one purchase for me. I really enjoyed it. I know now, I think from this game, why when I hear somebody say like they really love boss battles in a certain game, this is the game I can reference now, because I never understood that. Like, the boss was always somebody you would try to overcome and move on to the next point. And then in this game, there's some fantastic boss battles because they're almost mini levels or puzzles in themselves, where you're trying to figure out where to attack, and then get to this next layer of this boss, and then it's a new thing. So it, when bosses showed up this game, it was terrifying, but also exciting too, because that was a lot of really good gameplay was in these boss battles. It's a hard game. There isn't a lot of breaks. I remember listening to a podcast last year. They were talking about this. That were a Castlevania game. You will end up in corridors or areas where you can just kind of chill and take a breath. There's not that many in this game, which is very interesting. It's really cool. I enjoyed it. It's also a little different than a traditional Metroid or a traditional Castlevania game, because my favorite genre of games are the Zelda, Castlevania, Metroidvania, those action adventure games. But there's something that the old, Ecovania, Castlevania games would do, which you could grind a little bit. You could get that extra health if you're stuck on a boss. With the Metroid, if you were stuck, you had to go find another life, container, or maybe another upgrade, or do something. You couldn't just shoot enemies to get that extra bump, of health that you needed, or that extra attack. If you had all the equipment, you had to really get good, and you had to really learn the patterns of these bosses. And I really enjoyed that about this game. Really love this game because of its late arrival on the 3DS. I think a lot of people overlooked it. Definitely don't overlook it. Solid game. I wish that they would actually port this over to the Switch. I would love a Switch version of this. They already went through the trouble of making it for the 3DS. I wonder if they could upgrade it a little bit to, have it really solid on the TV. Graphics are fantastic in it. And I don't know, maybe someone can post this in the comments. I don't know if there's been a lot of 3DS to Switch ports, maybe a couple RPGs. I wonder how they've kind of looked upscaled for an HD television, because I think this would definitely be a fantastic candidate. All right. So my number one, I'm actually going to, this is one of those things where maybe in a year it'll change. Like, what's your favorite album? Depending on the day, might switch. But I'm rolling with it how I have it. So who knows? Maybe if you talk to me down the road, it might change. My number 2 is Animal Crossing New Leaf, June 9th, 2013. Fantastic game. This is my favorite of the series. I have the island one. That's a whole episode into itself on that, because a lot of my feelings towards the Switch game come from when it came out and stuff that was going on. But to talk about New Leaf, this was another one of those games that I talked about earlier that I got really into because of being into the 3DS and feeling like, other people that own the system, on podcasts or that I met through social media were excited about it too. So you kind of get wrapped up in this tornado of excitement. And I don't know if I would have bought this without being such into, I don't know if I would have gotten this if I wasn't so much into the 3DS. Like if it was just like a normal system that I had and I kind of played every once in a while. This is the first one I ever bought. Played over 100 hours into it. Absolutely loved it. Didn't capture any footage because I still have a soft spot for this game, and I do not want to turn on my Village 6 years later and have these poor creatures freak the F out because I've been gone for so long. But I do have my photos from playing the game, and it's weird because there's like times of the year, like when I got this game or certain things, I still go back to this game, like because in the fall there's this weird time in the fall where we get a lot of rain and mushrooms start growing in our yard. So when I'm out mowing, you'll start seeing these like big mushrooms and stuff underneath the grass and kind of pop up, and I always think of picking mushrooms in this game. I had a lot of great experiences with this. I think I was trying to recreate too much of that with the new Switch one, and I really enjoyed the Switch one. It just didn't capture me the way this one did. And I don't know why. It's something I have to, it's nothing I can really just like pinpoint why. I love this game. And who knows, maybe it's one of those lightning in the bottle things for me where, in the next Nintendo system, they'll make another Animal Crossing and that one still won't reach the heights that this one did, because maybe this was the game I needed at the time and that's all there is to it, But I enjoyed everything about it. Enjoyed, running around, completing tasks for, little animals, changing my style. I actually bought the strategy guide towards the end, towards around probably like 80, 90 hours into it, so I can get like the last thing in the game. But just fantastic, fantastic game. This game really made the 3DS for me one of my favorite systems. This was like kind of one of the reasons why I really enjoy it. So who knows? Maybe this is kind of my number one. I don't know. But for number 2 right now, this is Animal Crossing. All right. So number 1, the suspense. What could it be? I'm telling you, it's a Nintendo game. But so when I started the list, I told you a brief story about me being sick. This game is the game I actually was playing a lot during that sickness. I remember I got the demo for Bravely Default. I was playing that a lot, but this is the game that really I sunk all my time into during that time being sick, and it is The Legend of Zelda: A Link Between Worlds. Came out November 22nd, 2013, and I absolutely love this game. It's a throwback to Link to the Past. It's got a lot of very connective tissue to that, having the light and the dark world. Even how they had to, you could see it when you would switch into, because one of the gimmicks in this is to like get flat up against, you can see Link right there, getting flat up against things, and you can kind of have like a different way of platforming. So you can go up like a tower, hit a point where you have to stop, become a painting on the wall, and then walk across the wall up until the next platform. And you can actually see when you would change into that Link was kind of like leaning back, because they had to kind of 3D, render the fakeness of the pixels of how Link would look when Link would run around in the Super Nintendo, Link's Awakening for the Game Boy kind of games. And I love that because Link to the Past is my favorite Super Nintendo game. A little bit of gamer shame, though, is I never finished Link to the Past, even though how much I love it. We can get a whole podcast on that, or a whole episode on that. This was actually my first Zelda game I completed 100%. It's weird because I love the Zelda. That's my favorite type of game, of these adventure games, like the Castlevanias and the Zelda and the Metroid. But it took me up until now to actually finish a Zelda game. I would play a lot of like the clone ones and really love them, like 3D Dot Game Heroes, and like just different remakes, like Hey Ice King, Why'd You Steal the Garbage from Adventure Time is a great remake of Zelda 2, a spiritual successor kind of to Zelda 2 in that style. So I would play a lot of games similar to Zelda, but this was the first Zelda game that I finished, and it really woke me up to the fact of like, you love this style of games, you need to play more Zelda games. So after this, I went and downloaded Link's Awakening, finished that, played through the original Zelda. So finally got to finish that. It was a cool moment of, looking back to my childhood and being like, don't worry, buddy, I got it. You couldn't do it when you were a kid, so you did it when you were an adult. But back to this game. Fantastic game. I think the two biggest hangups for people, the negatives that people would bring up when they talk about this, is weirdly enough, its closeness to A Link to the Past. I think a lot of people thought like, oh, it's just kind of a remake, but there's a lot of originality to this game, and it comes from one of the other things that a lot of people didn't like, which is the renting the equipment system, which I didn't care. I was like, this is actually fun because you rent the equipment, you die, and then all the equipment goes away that you didn't owned and you didn't outright purchase, like, because there's like a rent fee and then there's like a purchase fee. So I feel like that made it a little bit tougher, because you really made you want to stay alive, especially if you're at like a pivotal part of a dungeon and you didn't want to lose your equipment. And there was something like, you're like, oh man, I lost this, I lost that, but it was such a fun world to be in that I didn't care that I lost, like, the umbrella thing or the whatever thing to fly, to different platforms, or the slingshot and stuff like that. Also, which added to the difficulty in the open worldness of this game, was you didn't have to, because you could rent whatever, item you wanted, you didn't have to play dungeon 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, all of them in succession and get the better weapons. if you felt like, hey, I want to go explore this dungeon and I only have 5 heart containers, I just want to see how far I can get into it and what I can do. You can do that. And I think there's like these little squids in the game, and I was missing those towards the end, and I wanted to get everything. So I remember I bought the strategy guide, and this is another one of the reasons why Animal Crossing, this are my number 1 and number 2 games. These are the only games I have strategy guides for, where it was, I love them so much. I wanted to be like old school and have a book of the strategy, not just going on like FAQs, like Game Facts or something like that. I really wanted to have something else physical of these games. So I remember I picked up the strategy guide, and I was finding like all the stuff I didn't even know I didn't have. I didn't have like the dash boots and stuff. So it was really cool that you could get so far in a game just by like figuring things out and doing stuff, on your own and not having the game tell you. And but I went through and was finding all the squids and everything, and then I'm going back through and I'm looking up like, oh, which dungeons did I actually complete? And I didn't realize when I went to the dark area, I completed like the 5th dungeon first, and then went through and did like the 3rd. So I did them in this crazy order, and it was really cool to me that the game wasn't telling you like, no, you have to go here first, and then you have to get this equipment, and then you have to go over here, and then now you can go over here now, where it was just like, no, just do whatever you want. Go buy this stuff and then go over here. Go, just adventure. And I really enjoy this game. And I think why this is my number 1 and not Animal Crossing is I have both nostalgia and enjoy of playing both of those games. But this is the one that I will definitely play again, and capturing some footage. I believe I was using my hard mode link to capture, and I got like whooped pretty quickly. Like just in capturing that made me think like, I want to go play this game again. There's more Zeldas I need to complete and want to, so I might maybe not go back to this, or maybe I will. I don't know. Because sometimes like there's that comfort in like replaying a game. But that's the biggest reasons between Animal Crossing and this one, is they both have huge places in the 3DS, made the 3DS what it is. But this game, I will go back and play again. So let me know if this is something you want to see more of. Get my brother on here. He never had a 3DS. He actually just got a Switch. So we can get some more gaming talk on here. If you want to hear us talk more about video games, I can talk a lot about video games. Like I said, the 3DS, the DS, that whole, system generation is one of my favorite. If you want to see some more top 10s, let me know. We got a lot of systems kicking around. But definitely let me know what your favorite games were for the system. I think I got another little bag somewhere behind me of some ideas for maybe a hidden gems, of the 3DS. If you want to see that, let me know. That'd be really cool. Right now, I just want to get this one out there. But if it's something in the future, if you want to see some like hidden recommendations for the 3DS, if you want to, a top 10 of my DS games, I could definitely do that, or a different system. But we're trying to branch out and do some more stuff with this channel. We were very Magic heavy in the beginning. And thank you for sticking along if your thing was not Magic. But let us know some other things that you might want us to talk about too. Hit us up in the comments. But thank you very much for watching. If you made it to the end, thank you. We appreciate it. Give us a like and subscribe, comment. Let us know what you like, what you want to see more of. And until next time, everybody, peace out.